Welcome to This Explainer. What if someone could influence your decisions without raising their voice, without threatening you, without you ever even realizing it? You know, every single day, hidden psychological forces are actively shaping our choices. Today, we're diving deep into the secret architecture of silent manipulation.
What if someone really could influence your decisions without raising their voice? Well, some people out there understand these hidden forces deeply. They use them to gain influence in boardrooms, in relationships, and just in everyday interactions. And look, they don't use magic, right? They use behavioral science.
The greatest manipulators don't control people through force. They control perception. So the crucial point is, manipulation doesn't always look evil. In fact, it often appears as kindness, or confidence, or even deep concern. In this explainer, we're going to uncover exactly how these influencers warp reality to guide your decisions. Phase 1, the setup, the illusion of freedom. Let's start our descent into the mind, looking at how influencers quietly set the stage.
The very first trick in their playbook is the reverse trap. As humans, we absolutely hate losing our freedom. When our autonomy feels threatened, we naturally resist. Think about a parent telling a teenager, "You probably aren't responsible enough to finish this." What happens? The teenager immediately rushes to prove them wrong, right? By telling you that you can't do something, influencers trigger that natural resistance, subtly pushing you to do exactly what they wanted all along.
Do you want to help? Versus, would you like to help today or tomorrow? And this brilliantly illustrates the master of choice tactic. Imagine a salesperson asking you, would you prefer the silver version or the black version? By designing the choices themselves, they make you feel like you're completely in control. You feel empowered because, hey, you picked the color. But both options lead to the exact same outcome, a purchase. Sometimes the greatest illusion of all is believing you had complete freedom in the first place.
Phase 2, the emotional break, exploiting human emotion. Now, let's guide you deeper into the vault, shifting from the illusion of choice to the direct targeting of vulnerable feelings.
Guilt is literally one of the strongest human emotions, and manipulators treat it exactly like an emotional debt. Picture a friend saying something like, "After everything I've done for you." They know exactly how to collect on that debt. Suddenly you feel this massive, artificial obligation, and you end up agreeing to things you really don't want to do, simply out of sheer manufactured guilt.
Never make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. This leads us to a highly critical rule for protecting yourself against the emotional hijack. You see, emotion is the absolute enemy of logic. The exact moment you become highly emotional, whether that's from anger, fear, or even extreme excitement, your logic completely falls away. And in that vulnerable moment, someone else can easily step in and become rational for you.
Phase 3, the squeeze, pressure and compliance tactics. Let's move into the third phase, where invisible pressure is applied to force compliance. The power of silence creates an immense pressure that most people absolutely rush to fill. You know, silence makes people incredibly uncomfortable. Skilled negotiators or investigators in an interview room will ask a difficult question and then they just stay completely silent. Most people rush to fill that awkward void by talking, and in doing so, they reveal far more information than they ever intended.
Let's move to and see how this builds with the foot in the door effect. It starts so harmlessly, just agreeing to a tiny, simple request, like answering a quick question. But because we have this deep psychological need to remain consistent, that tiny yes opens the door. Soon enough, you're complying with a massive commitment. Every large commitment begins with a tiny yes.
The scarcity effect. Limited time offer, only a few spots left. Another way they applied the squeeze is through scarcity. Think of the sheer chaos of a Black Friday sale. People deeply desire what they fear losing. When something suddenly appears rare, its perceived value skyrockets. Creating that sudden scarcity manufactures pure urgency, completely bypassing your logic. Phase 4, engineering false trust, the false bond.
Entering the fourth phase, we see how manipulators skip the hard work of actually earning trust by artificially manufacturing it.
The mirroring effect. Building genuine trust takes real time, but manipulators manufacture it instantly. We naturally trust people who remind us of ourselves, right? By subtly copying your posture, the speed of your voice, or your facial expressions, they engineer a really deep connection with you without a single word being spoken.
Confidence versus competence. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it decodes the authority illusion. Humans naturally follow confidence, a loud voice, a luxury office, a very professional look.
But confidence and competence are absolutely not the same thing. An empty suit can sound incredibly sure of themselves, so you always need to question authority and verify facts independently. Phase 5. Distorting your reality. The gaslighting trap. This brings us to the most dangerous level of our descent. Gaslighting. This is where they stop controlling your actions and start controlling your reality. It is a highly dangerous tactic where facts are repeatedly denied over time. The ultimate goal here is to systematically destroy your self-trust, leaving you completely questioning your own memory, your judgment, and even your sanity. It overrides your actual lived experience.
Listen closely for these specific red flags of reality distortion. That never happened. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. The only real defense against this systematic denial of reality is to stand firm, trust the evidence, keep records if you have to, and flat out refuse to ignore repeated behavioral patterns.
Phase 6. Shielding your mind. Awareness as protection. We've reached the bottom of the vault, and now it's time to take back control.
The greatest manipulators don't control minds, they influence perception. But once you understand the game entirely changes. Dark psychology isn't magic, you guys. It's just a mechanical understanding of human behavior. The more aware you become of these tactics, the harder you are to manipulate. Your awareness becomes an unbreakable shield. True power isn't controlling others, it's ensuring nobody controls you. So ask yourself, are you actively protecting your mind? Keep questioning, keep learning, and start looking a lot closer at the interactions in your daily life. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.